Breaking tonight, new developments in a war on the range as a decades-long dispute between a Nevada rancher and the feds reaches a tipping point. On one side, rancher Cliven Bundy, whose family has tended this land for more than a century. On the other, armed agents looking to round up Bundy's cattle, arguing he's trespassing. One of Bundy's sons is even tasered before the feds take off.
Get out of here! Get out of our state! Get out of here!
The feds are being accused of heavy-handed tactics here as well, and the ranchers are now getting plenty of support.
They're trying to take our stewardships and run us off the land that we love best. But I'm afraid they'll find the hard way that we're still willing to fight for this here West. I hope them fellers soon hunt their holes, or some of us will lose our souls. 'Cause killing it ain't right. But don't expect to take this land without a fight.
Nevada's governor has even weighed in on this, saying he was offended when the feds tried to corral protesters in a First Amendment area. And the feds now say they will allow folks on the land northeast of Las Vegas so long as they don't impede operations. But that does not affect what they're going to do with this land. Lindsay Curtis with our Vegas affiliate KVVU reports from the scene, where moments ago there was a whole lot of commotion.
Yeah, Megan, as you saw in that video, it's certainly been a tense situation. I'm standing in that First Amendment zone right now, and all day we've had protesters out here. There were about 100 of them about 20 minutes ago with signs standing by the Bundy family and standing against the Bureau of Land Management and this First Amendment zone. But if you take a look over here, it looks like a deserted campground. That's because in the last 20 minutes, all of those protesters took off. We're told that Assemblywoman Michelle Fiore here in Nevada was talking to those protesters, and we're going to show you these signs over here. This is where she was standing, and she was addressing them. They were shouting at her, telling her that 3 protesters were arrested earlier this afternoon at Overton Beach, which is near Lake Mead. And she was saying she was standing against the Bureau of Land Management and this whole situation. And they were telling her if that's how she really felt, then maybe she should go down to Overton Beach and try to help these people out. So basically, in the last 20 minutes, everyone has taken off from this First Amendment zone and headed over to that area. We also have a crew headed out that way, but that's about all the information we have right now, and we will certainly bring you more updates as we get them. But what we're told right now, 3 protesters have been arrested, and the Assemblywoman and all the protesters that have been out here all week have headed that way trying to help those people out. And that's the scene out here. Megan, back to you.
All right, thank you so much. And for more on this now, I'm joined by Dana Lash, who's a conservative radio host and hosts Dana on the Blaze television network. Also, Lise Wheel is with us. She's a Fox News legal analyst. We're going to start with Dana. People are so outraged over this, and yet, you look at the history of it, Dana, and the man has lost repeatedly in federal courts. They keep telling him, look, you either got to pay fees to have your cattle graze on this federal land, or we're going to come in and seize your cattle, and he has refused.
Well, he has paid fees, though, Megan. He's paid fees to Nevada County, and I think what's at dispute here is BLM's management of this land. I mean, if they're going to come in and claim to be good stewards of the land, then and that this land is going to be beneficial to the American public, well, the American public isn't benefiting from it. He's claiming that he has title to an easement on this land, which, it's all the devil's in the details, and maybe he does, and that's something that perhaps he and BLM can work out. But they've approached this, Megan, heavy-handed from the get-go. And I'll tell you this: if these cattle, BLM called them trespass cattle. If these cattle were in this country, if they were people and they were here illegally, the Department of Justice would be running guns to them, and the Department of Homeland Security would be driving by with free government phones and EBT cards. But now that they're cattle, they're actually rounding them up and killing them. He had thousands of head of cattle that's been reduced dramatically. He is the last rancher in this county because the Bureau of Land Management has used these heavy-handed tactics and has run off absolutely everybody, even those who had a valid claim to easement on this land. What they're doing is ridiculous, and it needs to stop.
They're killing the cattle?
Yeah, that's multiple reports. I talked to Cliven Bundy today, and he said, well, that's what they think that those big old trucks are there for. They've taken 300 cattle from him, and with intent to destroy.
Wow. Lise, you know, the problem for the government, as I see it, is the law appears to be on the government's side.
Absolutely on the government's side.
And yet the tactics,
right? If they really are
very controversial.
Killing cattle, I mean, that's you know, look, my granddaddy was a rancher in Washington State, so I grew up with this. I mean, I feel for the Bundys, I absolutely do. But when I look at the law going back to 1864 in Nevada state law ceding over to the U.S. government any unappropriated lands coming from there, and then going 1998, 2 decisions against the Bundys. What is the government supposed to do? They've told him once, they've told him twice, and still he doesn't, you know, abide by the law. This is a law, you know, we're a law-abiding country.
Dana, the feds
not abiding by the law.
The feds say what if they just sat by and let him sort of stand up and say, well, I'm not paying. It wouldn't be fair to the other ranchers who are paying the fees.
There are no other ranchers. They've ran them all out, though, and he has paid. He's paid grazing fees and other things to Nevada County. But the thing here, too, Megyn, is I think another big problem with this is inconsistency. Now, the whole reason this has been done by the Bureau of Land Management is to save this desert tortoise, which is actually overpopulating the area.
I'm very concerned about the
entire
tortoise.
Reason
right.
Yeah, well, yeah, and BLM is shutting down the tortoise refuge, and they're euthanizing over 1,000 of these tortoises. The whole reason they're going in there and harassing the Bundys, they're killing these tortoises. That hit the
I know.
The
I mean, what
today.
she just said is true. That's the irony of this whole situation. It started because they wanted to protect the tortoise.
Right.
Now they don't seem to give a fig about the tortoise.
But I hate to be
they still want the cattle gone.
I hate to be the law geek here, but
and they put a highway in.
He may have been paying Nevada taxes, but he's not paying federal taxes. I mean, I'm sorry, you've got to pay the federal fees. He's not been doing it.
That's, I mean,
he claims otherwise.
Federally owned land.
The thing that jumped out at me, Dana, is that he challenged it legally, repeatedly, and and there was a ruling that came down to him against him a couple of years ago saying, "We're sorry, sir, but you either have to pay the fees or get out." And he refused even that. So it's been 20 years they've been disputing this. It's not like the feds just swooped in and started taking the cattle. It seems like they gave him a lot of chances.
But it's the whole reason they're claiming this, though, is a bunk reason. I mean, look, Harry Reid was able to get them to move the habitat over, and I hope folks realize that. They actually moved the boundaries of this habitat for Senator Harry Reid because his friend had a development project, and so they were able to tweak the boundaries and encourage the turtles to move away.
Oh,
now, these cattle and these turtles have been in the same habitat for this long, and suddenly now it's a problem. It's a bunk reason they're using to go in and seize this land, and we ought to know why they want the land.
But the thing is, but Lisa, speak to, I mean, what do you do as the feds when you go in there? Because when they went in not to get those people off the land, but because they didn't like the statements they were making about this, they thought that they were threatening. You don't respond. People can get. No one was there. They weren't physically threatening it. They were just saying things that the feds didn't like, according to the reports. And then the feds swoop in and tasers come out, dogs come out.
Absolutely. Tactics are wrong. But the law is not on their side. Tactics are wrong. If start killing cattle, then the law may switch over to their side. But right now, from what I've seen before, hearing just this report now about killing the cattle, the law is against them.
That would be taking a property. That would be taking.
That would be a taking.
You can sort of take them and give them back, but you can't take them.
You can't take them and take them. Right. No.
All right. Well, good discussion, ladies. We'll see how this plays out because there's 2 fronts here. It's legal, and there's the issue of big government overreach and overstepping that now we have to deal with, given what we've seen, how they've seen this handled recently. Thank you both.